Good morning, Conference. My name is Sudanaz Top, Delegate for Hackney North and Stoke Newington, Chair of London Young Labour and first-time Speaker. Conference, we meet here at a moment of human tragedy and moral urgency. Since the horrific events of October 7th, the brutal attack carried out by the terrorist organisation that is Hamas, we have seen thousands of Palestinians killed. The people of Gaza have endured horrors that none of us can ignore. More than 65,000 Palestinians killed, including 20,000 children. Parents pulling their dead sons and daughters out of rubble, families starving because food is deliberately blocked, and doctors operating by candlelight with no medicine or sterility. And in the West Bank, mass displacement not seen since 1967. These are not just statistics, they are lives. They are children who should be in school, not in mass graves. They are mothers and fathers who want exactly what our families want: safety, dignity, and a future. Conference, I am proud of the historic step our Labour government took last week of recognising the state of Palestine. But recognition must mean action. 7th October was the deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust. Israel has a right to defend itself, but that can't be in the manner that kills 20,000 children. The time for peace is now. That means fully suspending arms sale that could be used in this conflict. That means working with our allies to get aid into Gaza, not just via dangerous airdrops, but via land. And yes, it means pressing for a ceasefire, because every day without a ceasefire means more children buried, more families destroyed, and more hostages left in fear. Conference, the Labour government is already showing leadership on the world stage and taking steps with our international allies. By passing this motion, we are giving it our full backing to go further, to act decisively, and to ensure our government continues to take action to end the horror and build peace. Since October 7th, we have seen a horrific rise in Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in my diverse community in Hackney, and I have worked proudly with community groups to combat this, because this is more than just foreign policy. As Labour, we stand against oppression, we stand for international law, and we stand for peace, justice, and security for both Palestinians and Israelis. Support this motion, support our Labour government, and let us send a message of hope that the world is watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Can I have the Speaker second the motion, please?
Conference, Parmjit Dand seconding this motion on behalf of Chesham and Amersham CLP. First time here as a constituency delegate, actually. Although the view is familiar, I must say. Now, Conference, this motion does remind us that Hamas perpetrated the worst massacre in Israel's history on October the 7th, 2023. It's crucial that's at the heart of this motion, because we as a responsible party need to get that across. But crucially, as has already been said, this motion spells out that 65,000 Palestinians have been killed, 20,000 of them children. And it's also important to get that documented in this motion, because Israel has denied it time and again. The motion supports the role and the jurisdiction of both the ICJ and the International Criminal Court in the investigation of the most serious crimes, and that includes investigating genocide too. Conference, for far too many years, the world has watched whilst illegal settlements have expanded on the West Bank. That must end. Now, thank you. I've only got 2 minutes, so at the heart of this motion is the two-state solution, and we salute the work that our government has done, not least in supporting statehood for the Palestinian people. Having listened to ministers and the weight of work they're involved in, we're not looking to micromanage them. We know they are doing a lot, and we know it is very demanding of their time, and they need to be able to negotiate. But we are also spelling out a path for fairness, justice, and an end to this war. So I urge you all, please support Emergency Resolution 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Can I have the mover for Emergency Motion 2?
Morning, Conference. Christina McInerney from Unison. The momentous decision by the Government to recognise the State of Palestine is a critical contribution towards achieving peace in the Middle East. It confirms the UK's commitment to a two-state solution in deeds, not just words. But this motion is about what we do next. Of course, what happened on the 7th of October 2023 was horrific. And since then, as has been said, 65,000 Palestinians have died. And on the news every single night, we see the Palestinians of Gaza suffering famine, death and destruction. And yes, Conference, genocide. Let's not play with semantics. Let's use the word. Most experts now agree this is genocide. But if we wait for this to be confirmed by a court, it will be too late because it's already happening as we sit here. And that's one of the reasons why I'm asking you to oppose Composite 1. And Composite 1 also calls for the arms trade with Israel to be suspended only in relation to this conflict. How can that possibly be policed and monitored? And it was really good to see the Prime Minister coordinating recognition of the State of Palestine with other like-minded countries. And that powerful contribution has made a huge difference. You only had to see the vitriolic response from Netanyahu at the United Nations to see that. So if the UK government can bring countries together like this, in the face of opposition from Israel and the USA, it can coordinate to aid and support and stop the killing, end the famine and save lives. I know we're sending in aid via airdrops, but this is the most costly and ineffective way to get aid into Gaza. We must do more. Why can't we, along with those other countries that have recognised Palestine, like France, Australia, Canada, Italy and Norway, why can't we all send fleets in, loaded with aid and supplies, right to the shores of Gaza? We cannot continue to watch from the sidelines in horror as people are being slaughtered, as women and children starve to death or are maimed trying to reach the food that would keep them alive. We need to intervene, as we have done in countries in the past, to stop the slaughter of innocent people and prevent famine. Conference, I don't want to be standing here this time next year and for nothing to have changed in Gaza. Our Labour Party, with our trade unions, have a long and proud history of campaigning for peace in the Middle East. Now is the time to act once more. We've got to find a way to end the war, bring all the hostages back, and of course, Israel has the right to defend itself and protect its citizens, as any country has. But Conference, I ask you this: who is defending Palestine and protecting the people of Gaza? The tide is turning, with one country after another recognising Palestine. We now need to get the borders open, ensure aid gets in, and the bombs stop falling. Conference, please support this composite, and I ask you to oppose Composite 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Can I have the seconder for this motion, please?
Morning, comrades. Miles Colombini from ASLEF, seconding this motion 2 on peace in the Middle East. I'm a bit of a loss, really. 2 minutes is not enough to do this very complex issue justice. I will try not to repeat what's already been said, although a lot of what has already been said is clearly of vital importance. But it would be remiss of me first not to applaud the decision to recognise statehood for Palestine. And also, it would be remiss of me not to mention the appalling, horrific genocide that is quite clearly taking place against the people of Palestine at the hands of the Israeli government. So that is the bit where I do repeat the previous speakers. I really want to focus on this composite rather than the issue, because the issue's been covered. So this particular composite, what it does, it provides a strategy by which to address the crisis in the Middle East, and it also outlines the tools by which that strategy will be delivered. So, banning of arms. That's surely a no-brainer. It would be perverse. It would be perverse to provide anybody, whether it be an individual or a state, with weaponry and then get upset when they use it to do harm. A totally perverse position. So we have to stop supplying Israel with arms. The second part I would like to focus on is the issue of sanctions. And more broadly, or more
Sorry,
specifically...
Speaker, your time is up.
Completely?
Completely.
OK, well, look, we have to have sanctions against Israel. History demonstrates what sanctions can do. We only have to look at South Africa. Please support this. It is a roadmap to...
Thank you, Speaker.
If we are going to be a force for good, it starts here. Support the item. Peace in the Middle East. Freedom for Palestine.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you. So that just shows you that 2 minutes is quite quick. So now we're going to move on to, for speakers from the floor. I'll now take speakers in rounds of 3. If you are called, you will need to register at the desk before coming up to the podium. So can I see all those? OK. Can I take the delegate with blue jacket and a beard, I think, over there? Can I have the delegate over there with the blue hair, which is... Yeah, thank you. That's easy for me to spot. And one more. I think, can I have the delegate over there with a hand up with the blue jacket? I think, is that? Thank you. Thank you, Delegate.
Joshua Garfield, Labour Councillor and Jewish Labour Movement. Conference, for nearly 2 years, we've watched horror unfold. The worst terror attack in Israel's history. The deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. A war that has devastated Gaza, killed tens of thousands, and with 48 hostages still in Hamas tunnels. 2 years ago, we stood together, right here at Labour Conference in Liverpool, and watched the horrors of October 7th unfold before our eyes. We held a minute's silence in this hall for the men slaughtered, the women raped and murdered, and the children's lives so cruelly ended by violent terror. With us at conference later today is Sharon Lifshitz, the daughter of kidnapped Israelis, one murdered and one freed. But Sharon chooses not vengeance, but peace. The peace that her murdered father, Oded, believed in, from a kibbutz that escorted Palestinians to life-saving surgery. Her mother Yocheved, who lost everything, yet still calls for reconciliation. Her father, who worked on the ground for coexistence and understanding between Palestinians and Israelis, doing more for peace than most of us will ever manage. That is not the easy path. It's the hardest path, but it's necessary. We would dishonor Sharon's family, her ransacked community, and thousands of war victims if we pass a motion that ignores Hamas entirely, does not even say the word Hamas. If we pass this motion, what would we be saying?
I'm sorry, Delegate. 2 minutes. Sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don't do a disservice to Palestinians fighting for peace or Israelis fighting for coexistence, and crucially, our Labour government trying to be a light in this world. Reject this and choose peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have the next speaker, please?
Thank you. I'm the Secretary of Lincoln CLP, so Hamish Falconer is our local MP, as well as the Minister for Middle East, Gaza and Afghanistan and Pakistan. So I'm speaking in support of Emergency Motion 1. I've just mentioned I may have a strange accent as well as strange hair because I'm a dual Australian, British citizen, and I hope you all enjoyed Albo's speech yesterday. I'm lucky enough to have 2 Labour Prime Ministers now. And having been politically restricted most of my career, it's fantastic to be here and to actually be able to have a debate where we can influence our government. And they are our government, we are our government, and we should trust our government that they're on the front line, they know what they're doing, and we should trust in this motion about peace and how we actually get there. So as I mentioned, Hamish is our MP. He feeds back to our constituency Labour Party meetings every month, and we see the personal cost to him of being on the front line and seeing what happens in Gaza. And I ask my colleagues in Lincoln CLP, please don't personally attack him. You can see how hard it is. But we need to trust our government and support Emergency Motion 1. Thank you.
Can I have the next delegate, please?
Hello, Conference. My name is Josh Lissler-Jennings, and I'm a first-time delegate and first-time speaker. Thank you. Conference, I urge you to support Motion 1 and vote against Motion 2. I know that everyone in this room and in this government is utterly outraged by what we have seen unfold in Gaza across the last 2 years. The only way to solve this conflict is through supporting the government's diplomacy with international allies to deliver a two-state solution. We must stay unified and support the government. I urge you to vote against the second motion because it does not mention October 7th and Hamas, which fundamentally undermines this government's position. It is absolutely critical that we unify and support the government on this matter. As the Prime Minister has said across the last 2 days, we are utterly in the fight of our lives against reform. If we do not unify on this issue, Conference, we must ask ourselves, what would a reform government do about Gaza and Palestine? They wouldn't have recognised Palestine, and they wouldn't be working night and day to secure a lasting peace. That is why it is so important we remain unified on this issue, and that is why, Conference, I urge you to support Motion 1 and vote against Motion 2. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. We've only got time for one more round, so if you could put your hands up in the air and I'll be able to... I think delegate there with the white jumper, is that? Yep. I've got someone at the back. Can I have the delegate there? Have you got a golden... Yep, thank you. And I think, is there a delegate... Oh, is that a delegate over, right in the back with... Have you got... Is that green or olive? that you got on? Yeah, that's you. Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry, that is going to be our last round. As you know, this is a time debate, so my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity of speaking. I'm also speaking in favour of motion 1 and against motion 2. I'm speaking in favour of peace and against stoking the conflict. We do have to recognise the hurt and damage on all sides, and not to recognise the atrocities of October the 7th is appalling. Israel is at war. Rockets are being fired into the country on a regular basis. Fires are being set in fields of crops. People are being attacked in the street. But none of this is reported. My 8-year-old cousin spends regular time in his bomb shelter with his family. Doesn't get mentioned on the BBC. There's a lot of discussion today and in the conference generally about language, about misinformation, about the words we use from people like Trump and Reform. But we need to be really careful about the extraordinary use of language that has happened around this debate. And when I was asked about hostages recently, somebody argued about, what about the Palestinian hostages? You can't be so loose about these terms. October the 7th was an extraordinary event and should never be repeated. We have to acknowledge that the leadership on both sides is destructive and undesirable, and we've been there with governments we don't like. I've believed in a two-state solution all my life, and it's never seemed further away. Please don't stoke the conflict. Please recognise the hurt on all sides, and please vote for motion 1.
Yeah. Can I ask for the next delegate, please?
Hello, Conference. Councillor Situl Punja from Ruislip, Northwood and Pinner. Conference, I speak in support of motion 1 because, Conference, if there is one thing that we must do here today, we must leave this debate ensuring our ministers and government have our full support in delivering lasting peace between Israel and Palestine. Ambitions over a two-state solution have been part of foreign policy in the Middle East for decades. Conference, it is this government, under Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who took the historic and monumental step to recognise the state of Palestine, a vital step for a two-state solution to be achieved. Palestine must be part of the peace solution, not a consequence of it. The atrocities committed by Hamas on October the 7th in Israel and the devastation caused in the West Bank by Israeli forces killing more than 65,000 Palestinians since October 2023 are imprinted in all of our minds, and we want this to stop. Sadly, motion 2 does not even mention Hamas or the West Bank. That's why I speak to motion 1. Conference, as we sit safely in our seats here in Liverpool, debating over language and discourse, what should be and shouldn't be, Palestinians and Israelis are losing their lives. So let's come together and call our Labour government to build fervently on the steps it has already taken and to do everything in its power to help bring about lasting peace. Let your voice be the part of that hope. Please support motion 1 and reject motion 2.
And next speaker, please.
Good morning, Conference. My name is Jennifer Hemingway from Smethwick CLP, speaking to this very important debate and encouraging you to vote for motion 1 and against motion 2. Conference, language matters. The October 7th atrocities were the worst terrorist attack in Israel's history, and I still recall that emotional punch to the gut when it happened. Hamas must never play a part in a future Palestine, and motion 2 fails to recognize this. Our government has rightly recognized Palestine, and I am proud of our Labour government
for this. But going forward, Hamas can have no role in this. And conference, on the banning of arms sales, there are some important things to note. The complete banning of arms sales would prevent NGOs from receiving body armor. This keeps those distributing vital aid safe. Motion 1 calls on the banning for arms sales that would be used in the conflict, a minor but very important detail. Conference, the horrors in the Middle East break my heart. I'm sure this is true for many others in this hall. And our government is working to try and bring peace to the Middle East. Let's not make their job harder by supporting a motion with clumsy language. Please support motion 1. Thank you.
Point of order. Okay, if you want to go to a rostrum, and then we'll take your point of order, if it is a point of order. Another round. Shall we do another round? Or shall we do another round? It's up to you. You're the chair. Sorry about this, we're just waiting for the point of order. I might take another round while we're waiting, just in case we can get some more speakers, okay? So if I could ask you to put your hands in the air. Straight in front of me, a delegate with the glasses, blue shirt. Let's have a look. Sort of delegate over the back there with yeah, that's you, yeah, you. And sort of, a delegate there with, just on the corner, yeah, you, yeah, with the, yeah, thank you. That's all. We can still, they're still discussing the point of order, so we'll take some more speakers while they're still doing that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Morning Conference, Richard Howitt, Cambridge CLP, National Policy Forum representative. And nearly 10 years ago when I stood down from the European Parliament, I said I was making my last speech to this conference, How Times Change. But I was proud to propose the resolution in the European Parliament that successfully won recognition from that body for the state of Palestine. And I want to say how proud I am of our government that you have done the same for our country. In this short address, I want to address Ukraine. I was shuddered and shocked by what happened to President Zelensky in the White House, and I'm so deeply proud that our Labour government has turned that around. That we've done it once again by standing tall with other European leaders, that we've been tightening sanctions so that no one associated with British profits from Russian aggression, and that we take the Labour Party's commitment to solidarity to commit to the defence of our allies in Poland and Estonia, who don't say what would happen if we are attacked, but when we are attacked. And we have to be honest with the British people too, that the threat extends to our shores. That our UK defence systems have been subject to 80,000 cyber attacks in the last year. That there have been drones in Poland, air flyovers in the Baltic, but that a Russian spy ship made a public incursion into British waters over some of our critical underwater cables. Chair, no one in this party wants war or conflict. Our commitment to a strong defence is precisely to deter, to stop war. We've seen what results from appeasement to totalitarianism. That's the importance of our support for Ukraine today. And our country, our Labour government's actions now are essential to stopping the slide to war now. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next delegate.
Thank you, Conference. Robert Evans from Esher and Walton. Conference, our motto here today at this conference is Renew Britain. But as we've heard from Yvette Cooper this morning and yesterday from Anthony Albanese, it's also about renewing Britain in the world, renewing Palestine and renewing Ukraine, as the previous speaker said. It's about renewing Britain and the world from the Middle East to Eastern Europe, from Australia to Asia. But, Conference, it is also about, as we heard from Yvette, renewing our relationships with Europe, with NATO, to enable us to take coordinated action on the important points in these mottos. As an MEP for 15 years, I sat round tables with like-minded people, colleagues from other European states, and sometimes people whose minds I didn't really like, but working together for common European approaches to address important issues: migration, asylum, as Yvette said, joint European policies to support disabled people and allow students to travel to other European countries. I'm delighted that Yvette is taking a strong, powerful message to the UN, following in David Lammy's footsteps, and rebuilding our important relations with the EU, relations that were so badly damaged by Brexit, a self-inflicted wound brought about by the Conservatives, with, let's not forget, Lib Dem support. And Conference, I'm proud, really proud, of the way that Keir Starmer is standing tall on the European stage to support the points in these motions. A global statesman in a way that Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, or even Liz Truss could never have been. Working with President Macron of France, working with Chancellor Merz of Germany and other leaders to not just renew Britain, but renew important ties, restore important values, and renew a common sense of global decency. Please support. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And the final delegate speaking on this. Okay, if you want to go to the rostrum control, that would be great. Thank you.
Good morning, Conference. Margaret Pinder, Councillor Margaret Pinder, Beverley and Holderness, CLP. Thank you. I'm speaking in support of Motion 1. Writing in the Financial Times, Yuval Noah Harari described the conflict in Gaza as being fuelled by a mutual horror of destruction, and that these were not irrational fears on either side, based in either paranoia or unreason, given the history. It's taken us a long road to get to this point where we're recognising a Palestinian state, and I'm sure I echo many in the hall to wish that it had been a much shorter one. But international politics is complicated. I'm glad our previous delegate mentioned the work of Hamish Faulkner. I've been very impressed. Conference, I tell you, in terms of foreign policy, the grown-ups are not just back in the room, but back on the international stage. I think in our CLP, we held an extremely thoughtful and constructive debate on the situation in Gaza, in which we agreed on a very important principle, in that we do not conflate the actions of the Netanyahu regime with the Israeli people, any more than we conflate Hamas with the actions of the Palestinian people. I think we've been better at doing the former and less so at the latter, which is why I think it's important that we support the motion that mentions the massacre on the 7th of October in 2023, because that act was deliberately designed to put the people of Israel in fear in their own state, and that's a very fundamental principle for Israel. As a state, we must be active, but we also must put actions into words in an international context. Conference, I urge you to support this motion, and although there is much to recommend in motion 2, I think we must recognise what happened on the 7th of October so that we can support both parties to an equitable solution as good international actors. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Thank you, everyone, for that debate. Conference, we will now hear from our Secretary of State for Defence, John Healey. Thank you, John.
Conference, it's an honour to speak in this international debate, a debate dominated by the agonies of the Palestinians in Gaza, a debate in which we redouble our determination to work for the end of the Israeli offensive, the release of all hostages, the flood of aid that's so badly needed, and the two-state solution, which is the only hope of a lasting peace. And Conference, I'm proud to address you again as your Labour Defence Secretary. Proud after 12 months of change. We've given our armed forces the biggest pay increase for 2 decades. We've brought 36,000 military homes back into public ownership. We've announced record levels of support for veterans. We've won the £10 billion warship deal with Norway, which will secure 4,000 good unionised jobs for the next 15 years. And we've made the biggest increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. This is Labour, delivering for defence, delivering for Britain. Conference, 3 weeks ago, I was in Kyiv. I saw homes bombed, buildings destroyed. I met Ukrainian troops and drone factory workers. And I tell you, they are defiant. They are determined, fighting back Putin's brutal invasion. And their freedom is our freedom. A secure Europe needs a strong, sovereign Ukraine. And that's why we've stepped up UK leadership on Ukraine. That's why we're providing the highest ever level of military aid to Ukraine this year. And that's why we're leading over 30 nations in the coalition of the willing, ready to provide the security guarantees for when peace comes. And 1,313 days into this war, I'm proud that Labour, proud that Britain remains united for Ukraine. And Conference, our message to Moscow from Liverpool today is this. President Putin, you will not win. Stop the killing, start the talks, agree a peace. We will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Conference, we are now living in a new era of threat, and that demands a new era for defence. That's why we're making this historic increase in defence spending. And with this Labour investment, we're making Britain more secure. And we're making defence an engine for growth, with a defence dividend measured in good jobs right across the United Kingdom. And defence proves that we are still at heart a nation of makers. Warships, we make them in Glasgow. Submarines, we make them in Barrow. Armoured vehicles, we make them in South Wales. Artillery barrels in Sheffield. Advanced drones in Swindon. AI systems in Plymouth. and those frigates for Norway. We start them across the Mersey, here in Liverpool. Conference, with Labour's defence spending, I want to make Britain the best place in the world to invest and to grow a defence business. We will make more in Britain. We will back British industry. We'll back British innovation. We'll back British jobs. This is Labour. Delivering for defence, delivering for Britain. But you know, Conference, who won't back defence jobs? The Scottish nationalists. They refused to fund a new advanced welding centre in Glasgow. So I can announce today that the Labour government now will step in and provide the funding needed. They won't, we will. And what of the other parties? Are they any better on defence? The Tories. They left our armed forces hollowed out and underfunded. The Lib Dems, they cut the size of the British Army to its smallest since Napoleon. And Reform. They praise Putin and they put down NATO. Conference, we are the party that created NATO in that great Attlee government after the war. Now we are the party growing jobs and growing the army, the party facing down Russia and strengthening NATO. Conference, Labour is again the party of Britain's defence. And as Defence Secretary, I get to work with some of the most outstanding people, day in, day out. And if ever you need reasons to feel proud about Britain, then look to those who serve our country to defend us all. Our soldiers on NATO's front line with Russia, our pilots dropping aid into Gaza, our submariners patrolling the seas for weeks on end, our sailors on the carrier, reinforcing and reassuring allies in the Indo-Pacific. And I say to them, we can't fix 14 years of Tory failure overnight, but Labour will match your dedication with our determination to support you and to improve service life. And that starts with better homes. You know, a few weeks into government, I visited a military base, and I saw the result of years of Tory neglect. Damp, mould, pests, a hole in the wall of a bedroom of one of the children. And that's why we've pledged 1.5 billion extra for military homes in this Parliament. That's why we've introduced a new consumer charter to drive housing standards higher. And today we go further, a new approach, forces first. We will offer our forces priority access, or first dibs, if you like, to new homes built on surplus MOD land, making home ownership a reality for more of our services personnel and veterans. Better homes, better pay, better lives. Conference, this is Labour, delivering for defence, delivering for Britain. This is Labour, just 1 year into government, much done, but so much more to do. This is Labour, making our country more secure at home, strong abroad, renewing our country for good. Thank you.